takes a big heart to shape little minds. This anonymous quote beautifully captures the essence of early childhood care and education and sets the tone for today's gathering as we commemorate the 26th death anniversary of Professor Dr. Ram Joshi, a pioneering educator, reformer, and the architect of preschool transformation in India. A very good morning to one and all. I am Kavita Krishnamurthy, faculty at SIES Institute of Comprehensive Education, and it is my privilege to welcome you all on behalf of SIES ICE and the entire SIES family to the 26th Dr. Ram Joshi Memorial Lecture. It's an honor to extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed chief guest, Shri Nilesh Nimkar, founder, trustee and director, Quality Education Support Trust, a nationally recognized leader in foundational learning and inclusive education, whose pioneering work through Quest has brought meaningful change to grassroots education. We are also delighted to welcome Dr. Satish Sarkare sir, Principal SIES College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Empowered Autonomous Science. We'll shortly be having our guests from the Managing Council, Dr. Ramnath Subramanian. We welcome him. Vice principals and faculty members from our institute and also the sister institutions. Members of Ram Joshi family, Anupama ma'am and Vidyanand sir. Special invitees including Dr. Uma Shankar, Director, Academics and Administrations, SIES. Staff and students from other institutes. Students and faculties from SIES institutes, both present here and joining us virtually via YouTube. To begin today's program, let us invoke the blessings of Almighty, who continues to guide us in countless ways. I invite Ms. Sanika Tilak, student of our postgraduate diploma in counseling, to present a soulful rendition. Welcome.
Good morning and namaste to our guests and ma'am and all my friends. I'll sing the Saraswati Vandana. Jaya Sharde Vageshwari, Jaya Sharde Vageshwari, Vidhi Kanyake Vidyadhari, Vageshwari, Vageshwari, Jaya Sharde Vageshwari, Jyotsne Pari Kanti Tujhi, Jyotsne Pari Kanti Tujhi, Mukharamya Sharad Chandrama, Jyotsne Pari Kanti Tujhi, Mukharamya Sharad Chandrama, Uzale Tujha Hasyatuni, Uzale Tujha Hasyatuni, Chari Yuganchi Purnima, Tujhiya कृपेचे चांदणे, तुझिया
Kalika for the beautiful rendition. May I now invite Dr. Satish Sarkare, Principal of SIES, Arts, Science and Commerce, Empowered Autonomous, to formally welcome our chief guest and also speak few words about the life and legacy of Professor Dr. Ram Joshi.
Dignitaries on the dais, esteemed chief guest for today's function, Shri Nilesh Nimkar sir, founder, trustee and director, Quality Education System Supports Trust. We also have with us Dr. Subramaniam, member of the Managing Council of the South Indian Education Society, Dr. Vidya Satish Madam, Director, SIES Institute of Comprehensive Education. Invited guests, amongst them Dr. Uma Shankar, former Principal, SIES Science College, and now Director Academics, SIES. Family members whom I got introduced today, Ram Joshi sir's family, Anupama Madam and Vidyanand sir, niece and nephew of Ram Joshi sir, Vice Principals, Degree and Junior College, teaching, non-teaching staff of SIES Scientist College and Institute of Comprehensive Education, dear students. On behalf of the President of South Indian Education Society, on behalf of the Managing Council of the South Indian Education Society, on behalf of SIES Science College and on behalf of Institute of Comprehensive Education, it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you for the 26th Dr. Ram Joshi Memorial Lecture, to be delivered by Shri Nimkar on the topic Transforming ANGANWADIS into Vibrant Preschool, some insights from PALAVEE intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ask me, as a mark of tribute and respect to the historic legacy of Dr. Ram Joshi, moreover, to express our gratitude and admiration to the kind of legacy which he has left behind, the South Indian Education Society initiated this memorial lecture series in 1999, a year after Joshi sir's demise in 1998. Dr. Ram Joshi was at the helm of the affairs of this institution from 1963 to 1977. Thereafter, he became the Vice Chancellor of what was then known as the Bombay University. This lecture series, which got conceptualized, was with the objective that distinguished personalities, eminent experts from fields which are related to education will grace this occasion and will use this forum to deliver their insights and perspectives on topics which are related to education. Incidentally, in 1999, when the lecture series was inaugurated, it was inaugurated by Dr. Mariammal Verghese. By that time, Bombay had become Mumbai, the then Mumbai University. There have been a long list of speakers in the past 25 years. Just to name a few, Dr. Snehalata Deshmukh, former Dean, Sion Hospital, and then who became the Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University. Dr. Rupa Shah, Chancellor, SNDT Women's University. Shri, Chairperson, National Council for Teacher Education. And last year we had Dr. Rita Patnaik, Joint Director, who is at the helm of the affairs for Institute for Public Cooperation and Child Development. And today we have with us Dr. Nimkar. Friends, this kind of a forum which has been provided by the South Indian Education Society is also a reminder to all of us that in the past 25 years, this memorial lecture series has not only grown in stature, but in fact it is one of the lecture series which academicians, educationists, teachers, especially those who are into teaching by choice, look forward to get some insights, to get some inspiration from those who have made a name for themselves. There have been diverse topics on which eminent experts have delivered their thoughts, just to name a few. Challenges and opportunities in transforming early childhood education. Education as a tool, a foundation for social and economic change. And today we have Dr. Shri Nimkar, who is going to tell us how ANGANWADIS can be transformed into vibrant preschools. If you ask me, such occasion is also a reminder for us that let institutions remain as centers for learning, and moreover, let them remain as a breeding ground for students so that they are inculcated reason, wisdom, and they are brought up with responsibility. I am indeed fortunate that I have been given the opportunity by my colleague, Dr. Vidya Satish, to talk about Dr. Ram Joshi. What can I say about an individual who has been considered as a phenomenon? And indeed he was. In fact, if you ask me, to even attempt to continue his historic legacy is enough for someone like me who has been given the opportunity to be at the helm of the affairs now. Yesterday evening I was talking to one of his students, one of the first students to pass out from the 1960s batch, Shashikant Goraji, who was going to join us. And in one word he described Dr. Ram Joshi. He said that Ram Joshi sir was genius. He didn't say anything else. Born in the pre-independence era, one who eventually led as a principal of an institution, you'll be surprised to know that he sacrificed 1 year of his college studies to participate in the 1942 Quit India movement. Thereafter was imprisoned quite a few times for leading students' movement. Eventually also fought for the cause of the trade union workers. In fact, when I look back, when I was reading about it, I somewhere felt that these were those moments, these encounters, where because of which he could feel the pulse of the people. Eventually, when he got into teaching profession and became the exemplary administrator, he realized that issues have to be resolved upfront. He has been considered to be an architect of preschool education reforms, and it is mentioned that in this era we talk about national education policy and how it is transforming the educational landscape in India. I think one should read what he delivered in the 60s and 70s, that look, that it's the early childhood education which you need to take care of, because it's there that you need to nurture them. Like I keep saying, that catch them young so that you can watch them grow. One of the few people who ensured that in municipal schools, the preschool education will be free of cost. Moreover, who also ensured that the teachers who are teaching in municipal schools will get some decent salaries. Dr. Joshi didn't stop here. I think he went beyond, and because of that, eventually he was invited as a visiting scholar. Just to name a few universities in US, it could be Texas, Denver, San Francisco, and many others. And it's not surprising that what was revered as a teacher here in Mumbai in India, I think he made a mark even in the United States, and he was recognized as the best teacher even across. One can go on and on talking about the legacy, but I remember one incident. I think this is where I say serendipity has come. When I started my teaching career in 1994 in my alma mater, Nerul College, I just about started my career, and I was told that there is this one lecture on educational reforms, and it was by Dr. Ram Joshi. Believe me, not even in my wildest dreams it would have come at that time, that 30 years later, here I would be trying to take care that not only the legacy is maintained, but the traditions are upheld. I think someone up there has a plan to ensure that the legacy definitely continues. At this moment, with the permission of the members on the dais, if I could put forth in Hindi, कि जिनके नाम में ही राम का स्मरण हो, ऐसे व्यक्ति का आदर्श होना ये तो लाजमी था. We are here for a memorial lecture that also reminds me of what is said in Hindi. That कहते हैं मनुष्य का जीवन मिलना तो भाग्य की बात है, मृत्यु आना ये तो समय की बात है, मृत्यु अटल है, पर मृत्यु के पश्चात इस तरह लोगों के दिलों में जीवित रहना ये तो सिर्फ कर्मों की बात है. जिन्होंने अध्यापन, शिक्षा, समाज सेवा इसी को अपना धर्म मान लिया, अब उससे बड़ा धर्म क्या होगा? It is befitting that to continue that legacy of what Dr. Ram Joshi started, today we have with us Shri Nimkar, who has done pioneering work when it comes to early childhood preschool education. I was reading about what he has done in terms of innovative teaching learning pedagogies, and the much talked about collection, sir, which in Marathi is addressed as Shikta Shikavita. Correct me if I am wrong, sir. Before I leave in that context of Sir's Shikta Shikavita, just yesterday evening I thought that if you could allow me to put forth in Marathi something which is in the context of Sir's Shikta Shikavita, sir, तुमच्या परवानगीने ही शिकता शिकविता त्याला अनुसरून एक गोष्ट नक्की की शिकवतानाच खरं तर शिकतो आपण, आणि शिकवल्यामुळेच शिकवी शकतो. या शिकता शिकविताचं यमक हे तुम्हाला उमजलं आहे, म्हणून तुम्ही त्याच्यामध्ये आमूलाग्र बदल करू शकला. To translate in English, they say teaching is learning twice, and learning is fundamental to teaching. One who has realized the essence and the relationship between the two, indeed is the one who could make transformational changes in education. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
May I now call upon our member of the council, Dr. Ramnathan, to speak a few words.
Good morning to all of you. I'm fortunate that I am one of the ex-students of this college. This was my standard 12 classroom. Yeah, 12th day. Yeah, number 1 room. And I'm fortunate to be here today. In the period that I was studying here, obviously Dr. Ram Joshi sir wasn't around. We had Professor Ramnathan as our principal there. But one thing that every time I was a class representative, 11th, 12th, first year BSc. So that time we had these elections and we were very active in all that. So years after that I've come back here, and it's indeed divine blessings that the entire management team at SIES brought me into the system now, and I'm a recent joinee, so relatively and young in terms of coming into the council, sir. This is probably, I'm fortunate that today is my first interaction with all of you from the managing council side. It's also a great occasion. So one thing I wanted to bring around is that even when Professor Ramnathan sir was there, every time he had such a huge background of what was previously done by his predecessor, that every time he had to take some action, he would always look back, even in the student council, to tell that boss, Ram Joshi sir aise karte the, I also have to follow that principle. So I think the overall ethos that was laid down by such a wonderful person remained around for quite long, and I think it continues as Principal Sir was just mentioning. As regards to today's program, I think there's a lot of knitting in terms of getting in a person of the stature of Shri Nilesh Nimalkar sir. Sir, I don't know, but unfortunately I never got a chance to interact with you. I was the CEO of Maharashtra Village Social Transformation for 4 years, BSTF. We worked in Palghar and Raigad. This is the 1000 village Palghar and Raigad. Somebody to take up such great work in the city or in the outskirts of Maharashtra and Palghar. Quest has been doing a wonderful job in terms of education, focus on education, Anganwadi. I think, sir, we have had a lot of your volunteers work with us when we were, because for us our CSR partner was Reliance in Palghar. So I think Quest has done a wonderful job, and I think it is really a wonderful integration today that in the memorial lecture for Dr. Ram Joshi, we have Shri Nilesh sir coming and addressing us all here. Once again, thank you all for coming in large numbers, and I think it will be great to hear from Nilesh sir about the great work that Quest has done for education, and especially trying to support people who do not have the resources. They work extensively with CSR funds. They try and channelize it into Anganwadis. They support even on the medical side for kids as well as during pregnancy and things like that. So for every youngster, I think it is people like Nilesh sir who have been great motivation for many of us. And I think as youngsters and the overall age group that we have today, it would be great to try and imbibe some of the qualities that they have been doing. कुछ तो वापस देना है society को. These people have given everything that they have back to the society. For each one of us, the learning out, going out after today's meeting is probably after this lecture, is that each one should try and contribute what best they can to try and get the society, the country that we are living in, back into glory, and we should support in whatever form we can. Sir, welcome here, sir, and thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly offer floral tributes to the picture of Professor Ram Joshi. I would also request Anupama ma'am, Vidyanand sir, Uma ma'am, Vice Principals of SIES to please offer floral tributes to sir. I now invite Dr. Vidya Satish, Director of SIES Institute of Comprehensive Education, to introduce our chief guest, Shri Nilesh Nimkar.
Thank you, Kavita. The first 5 years have so much to do about how the next 80 will turn out, said Bill Gates Sr. A very good morning to everyone. Today's gathering is more than ceremonial. It's a space for reflection, for honoring legacy, as Sir said, understanding the impact and listening to the voices that shape the future of education. We began by paying homage to a towering figure in Maharashtra, Professor Joshi, a philosopher, a thinker, and an educationist. Professor Joshi stood for the kind of education that doesn't merely decorate the mind but challenges the mind. He believed in making knowledge accessible, crucial, critical, and socially rooted. This annual memorial address, the lectures that we organize, is a tribute to the great legacy of such an inspired and motivating educationist. With great pleasure, I welcome Shri Nilesh, Nimkar, Chief Guest of the Day. Thank you, sir, for so graciously accepting our invitation in such a short notice. And Shri Dr. Ramnath Subramanian, our Managing Council member, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Satish Sarfare, Dr. Uma Shankar, our Director, Academics and Administration, Vice Principals of SIES College of Arts, Science and Commerce, both the degree as well as the junior college. We have guests from Quest, we have guests from different colleges, Dr. Shobha Bharat, representing Association for Early Childhood Education and Development, AECD, as well as her college, Srimati P.N. Joshi. We have students today from her college, P.N. Joshi College, Ghatkopar. We also have students from SNDT BMM College, Vadala, Matunga. And we also have students from IFSA, Vashi. Along with our own students, invited guests, the teaching faculty are colleagues from SIES College here, sister institutions. So, and other educational, to cover the educational landscape of Mumbai. Your presence today not only adds value but also warmth to each and every one of us and to this occasion. We are deeply honored to have with us a speaker today, a person who embodies the values of Professor Joshi, Shri Nilesh Nimkar. For over 3 decades, Shri Nimkar has worked at the intersection of grassroots action and system-wide change in education. As a founder and director of Quest Quality Education Support Trust, he has led various initiatives for children from 3 to 14 years, impacting so many educators and so many schools and ANGANWADIS across the country, not only in Palagee, not only in Maharashtra, but in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh as well. His career began very humbly as a teacher in a residential school run by Gram Mangal, but even then, his approach was innovative, child-centric and uncompromising in quality. In 2007, he established Quest, not to work around the public education system, but work with it, within it, to strengthen it and to scale into meaningful reforms. Over the years, Quest has reached, as I just said, to over 3 lakh children and 12,000 educators in various states of our country, proving that we don't need flashy solutions to create an impact. We don't need air-conditioned boardrooms to think and decide upon policies, but all you need is consistency, courage and commitment, along with compassion. He dons various feathers to his cap, as an educator, as a researcher, as a designer, as an advisor, but with one belief. The belief is, the challenge is not just reaching the child, but understanding the world in which the child lives. I think this is a quote Shri Nimkar often returns to, not as a slogan, but as a practice. Whether he is designing pedagogical materials, or training ANGANWADI workers, writing children's books, or teaching tech tools for rural learning, his work primarily focuses on the context of the learner. Because without the context, there can be no connection, and without no connection, there can be no education. His achievements include designing foundational stage curricula for Maharashtra, contributing to Bal Bharati textbook development, developing a learning management system tailored to rural India, authoring widely respected, as Dr. Satish said, Shikta, and receiving awards from Maharashtra Foundation, like the Maharashtra Foundation Award, the Education World Leadership Award, and recently the Rotary Award for Service to Humanity. Today, Shri Nimkar will deliver a talk, and that's just not merely a talk, but it's something that's really very urgent, transforming Anganwadis into vibrant preschools, some insights from the PALAVEE intervention. Anganwadis have long been underutilized and undervalued in our educational ecosystem. But through the PALAVEE intervention, Shri Nimkar and his team have shown that these spaces can become joyful, they can become dynamic, they can become spaces for foundational learning, where the child's mind is just not prepared for school, but prepared for life. The subject is not merely academic, it's a window into the future of early childhood education in India. Through his work, through the PALAVEE program, his team has shown that with the right resources, with training and most importantly the heart, even the most, the modest of the Anganwadis can be converted into joyful learning centers, where you not only spark, you don't not only light the spirit of curiosity, but you sustain that spirit of curiosity in children. As we listen to him today, we will be reminded of the timeless words of Fred Rogers, who says, anyone who does anything to help a child in his life is a hero. So today, we have a hero here, and we are honored to have him amongst us. As we listen to his address today, let us remember that this transformation of quiet corners into centers of hope is the kind of change Professor Ram Joshi envisioned. It's a fitting tribute that he has come here for the memorial address. And every year at ICE, we feel very honored with the kind of speakers who come in here, who leave an indelible mark in the minds of our students of that particular batch. But there are our teachers who come year after year, who listen, who get greatly motivated and strive for the cause of early childhood education. And the fact that I think Dr. Ramnath very nicely said, it is coming in together of two institutions of SIES. It has always been SIES College of Arts, Science and Commerce and us doing this program together. And I always got the complete support from Uma ma'am earlier, the earlier principals, and now to Dr. Satish. So let us learn from Dr. Shri Nimkar. I think we can call him doctor only for the kind of work that he is doing. So please join me in welcoming the man who walks the vision, Shri Nilesh. Before that, we will have a felicitation.
To honor our chief guest, may I request Dr. Ramnath to felicitate Shri Nimkar with a shawl. May I now call upon Dr. Satish Sarfare to present the plant to our chief guest. I would like to request Dr. Vidya Satish to present the dry fruits basket to Shri Nimkar as a token of our respect. I once again request Vidya ma'am to offer a painting lovingly created by our teacher, Ms. Lakshmi Kumar, to Nilesh sir. May I request Uma ma'am to please offer the thank you card to our chief guest. This card is made by our teacher training student. As preschool educators, we deeply resonate with the philosophy that foundational years lay the foundation for lifelong learning. The NEP 2020 and ASER 2022 both emphasize the need to strengthen these formative years. One powerful example is the PALAVEE intervention, which reimagines the ANGANWADI as vibrant, child-centered preschools. Today, we are privileged to hear from Shri Nilesh Nimkar as he delivers the 26th Dr. Joshi Memorial Lecture on Transforming ANGANWADIS into Vibrant Preschools. Some insights from the PALAVEE intervention. His insights will guide us in understanding how ANGANWADIS can evolve into powerful platforms for nurturing young minds. I request Shri Nilesh Nimkar to address the crowd with his lecture.
So, thank you so much for this opportunity to have a dialogue with you. It is absolutely an honor for me to be part of this lecture series. We all know that Professor Joshi had contributed to higher education as a professor of political science and also as a vice chancellor of the university. But my contact with him was because of his Maharashtra Bal Shikshan Parishad work. So we were young volunteers running about when the Parishad was getting formed, and he used to conduct very inspiring meetings for us, very small meetings, and the agenda was being set, how it was being sort of constructed that way. So that's what my contact with him was, a very short contact but very inspiring. So I also I'm aware about the responsibility that I'm carrying today, because with so many tall figures in the field have delivered lecture from this dais, I hope that I can make justice to that as well. So when we talk about early childhood education, this has been a very important yet extremely neglected field in the country. And this has been the case right since, when Kothari Commission report was published, because that time they thought that early childhood education cannot be really formalized, we don't have those many resources, and somehow we missed the bus that time. And this field kept on missing buses after buses in every policy. So finally in 2020 we see some little hope, but yet lot more needs to be done for the field. So in 1986 policy they thought about universalizing the Anganwadi network and at least create an infrastructure to make this possible. But again, the education part of it was not emphasized so much. Then in 2013, when the early childhood education policy was drafted, the states took a different stand, and that's why it became difficult to really universalize early childhood education. I remember that when the first Joshi committee report was published, the government of Maharashtra tried to do some law and to regulate the field and make it professional. It failed miserably that time, So every time the field has been missing the buses, but still, people have realized that unless we work towards the strong foundations, it is in vain talking about, a great building standing on it. And that's why I would like to really present a case of our PALAVEE program, which is attempting to sort of transform Anganwadis into vibrant preschool centers. Now, why transform Anganwadis? Why not have regular private preschools? Let me just give you some numbers. The largest private preschool player in the country has about 850 schools to 1200 schools across the country. My own Palghar district, which is such a small district, has 2,700 Anganwadis, and we have 36 such districts across Maharashtra. So the total number goes to about 1,20,000 centers across the state. So the point is that we as a society have created this infrastructure. Now it's our responsibility to see to it that it functions, and it is the only way that you can make early childhood education, quality early childhood education, accessible to the last child. So if we really believe that every child has this right, there is no other way than to strengthen our public systems. No private player, no institution, no NGO is ever going to match our public infrastructures. So whatever I am going to present today is to be seen in that light as well. It's not only about PALAVEE, it's not only about strengthening ANGANWADIS, but generally what has happened is that the public infrastructure, like on health, of education, is under tremendous attack. So, so whereas if I say a municipal school, what kind of image do we have in our mind? Certainly not very good. If I say an ANGANWADI, it's not something that you have a good image in your mind. And this is something which is not happened by chance. The public systems are actually under attack by several propaganda that is being made that they don't function, that they don't deliver. So when we started in 2007, our idea was that is really public system that bad? And because if you really see, if you want to make early childhood education a reality for every child, we don't have any other alternative. Even if you sort of put off all your CSR money, all your voluntary effort only in this field, we are still only a fraction of what the government spends on early childhood education. So considering this entire argument that I want to frame around PALAVEE is not only about early childhood education, it's not only about strengthening ANGANWADIS, but generally at large reinstalling our faith into the public system, which is under attack right now. And this will, if the public system collapses, then the consequences will be really, really bad. So that's what one has to really keep in mind, that when we are talking about transforming ANGANWADIS, we mean that the public education system can be transformed. Not only that, we could prove that it produces results which are comparable, if not better, to the private systems. So that's the argument that I want to frame my entire lecture around. Let's begin the subject with a short film. Okay, so that will give you some idea about how does an ANGANWADI look like. Maybe that many of you haven't visited a rural ANGANWADI, right? So let's see how does it look like.
तुमच्या शेजारची मुलं तिच्या वयाची इंग्लिश मीडियमला जातात आणि ज्यावेळी इतर लोक विचारतात की ही कोणत्या शाळेत जाते, तर आम्ही सांगतो की तिळशाच्या अंगणवाडीत जाते. मग त्यांना एकदम आश्चर्य वाटतं, तिळशाच्या अंगणवाडीत?
शाळेत ठेवलेली इंग्लिश स्कूलमध्ये माझी मुलगी सायना मुरलीधर पाटील तिचं नाव. तिला आम्हाला शिक्षणाचं परवडत नव्हतं, त्याच्यामुळे आम्ही काढली घरी.
तुमच्या शेजारची मुलं तिच्या वयाची इंग्लिश मीडियमला जातात आणि ज्यावेळी इतर लोक विचारतात की ही कोणत्या शाळेत जाते, तर आम्ही सांगतो की तिळशाच्या अंगणवाडीत जाते. मग त्यांना एकदम आश्चर्य वाटतं, तिळशाच्या अंगणवाडीत?
शाळेत ठेवलेली इंग्लिश स्कूलमध्ये माझी सायना मुरलीधर पाटील तिचं नाव. तिला आम्हाला शिक्षणाचं परवडत नव्हतं, त्याच्यामुळे आम्ही काढली घरी.
What a child can achieve and contribute as an adult depends on what she experiences during the early years of life. Adequate and appropriate stimulation during these years lays the foundation for further holistic development. In India, the Anganwadi centers run under the Integrated Child Development Services scheme by the government cater to the needs of this age group. In Maharashtra, It is one of the largest outreach programs delivering child development services through more than 80,000 Anganwadi centers. The Anganwadi workers are responsible for implementing the 6 child development services of the ICDS scheme. Due to the complexity of the activities to be carried out by the Anganwadi workers, early childhood education takes a back seat and remains the weakest service under ICDS.
मी जेव्हा लागले 1983 मध्ये त्यावेळेस फक्त रवा वाटप मुलांना एकत्र करायचं आणि त्यांना खाऊ वाटायचं त्यांची हजेरी लावायची 1-2 गाणं शिकवायचे आणि त्यांना सोडून द्यायचं.
Is an intervention that transforms Anganwadis into vibrant ECE centers step by step. The effect of the intervention is evident. The physical facilities have improved with simple provisions such as a mirror, comb, handkerchief, duster, etc., which the children have learnt to use. Their print awareness has increased because of a sound and elaborate literacy program.
पुस्तकाची मैत्री झालेली जाणं म्हणजे याचा अर्थ पुस्तकं त्याच्या हातात तिथे पडलेली असतात. रविवारी पण अंगणवाडी भरवा असं सेविकेला सांगतात ते त्यांना खूप
बाईंनी विचारलं कसं काय तुम्ही ओळखलं तर म्हणजे झाडाची पानं हलतात हे बघून मला खरोखर कौतुक वाटलं का खरोखर ट्विस्ट म्हणजे खूप प्रगती होते मुलांची.
बहुतेक मुलं माझी इंग्लिश मीडियममध्ये गेली 8 मुलं गेली ती 8ही मुलं सगळी माझी मराठीमध्ये टाकली म्हणजे अंगणवाडीतच टाकली. म्हणते मी तुम्ही आता काय याच्यामध्ये टाकले म्हणजे बाई ते शिक्षणापेक्षा तुमचं शिक्षण चांगलं आहे.
तिला तिळशाच्या अंगणवाडीमध्ये जे मिळतं ते मला वाटतं इतर मुलांना कुठेच मिळत नसेल. एव्हा ना मीही माझ्या शाळेतल्या मुलांना द्यायला कमी पडते असं मला जाणवतं.
Yes, this is possible. Our Anganwadis can be converted into vibrant preschool centers. What we need is a systematic long-term program to empower the Anganwadi workers.
So that's what we do, in short. So if you really see the interviews of the parents in the film, they clearly show that if the public systems are functional, they want them. Not that everybody can really afford to send their children to the private schools, but because the public systems are not functioning, they tend to sort of, with slightest affordability, the first thing that they would try to do is to put the child in the private preschool or private school. Now, to what extent do they really deliver the quality education is a separate matter, but at least the belief is there that this is something what is good for my child, because the teacher's son goes over there, or maybe people who have money, they send their children over there, and this is the kind of perception that you see across the country, across the state. So the challenge that we have today is that how do we really prove that public systems can function? Not only that, they should be the first choice for us. If you take any developed country, say Sweden, Finland, for that matter even USA, only a handful of children would go into the private schools. Otherwise, generally, even in a very capitalist society like USA, children go into the government schools, they study over there. Yeah? Here in India and the Indian subcontinent, you see a completely ulta picture. We just don't trust our public systems. I mean, there are several reasons for that. I don't say that this is something what has happened overnight, but is it really possible to make education a right for every child without having a robust, functioning, well-functioning public system is the question that we should have at the back of our mind while listening to the argument that I am going to make now. Can you open the... presentation. Yeah, please open the presentation. Start with the second slide. Yeah. Okay. So when we conceptualized this entire intervention, the aim was very clear that we work with the teachers, we work with the Anganwadi workers, and over a period of time show that they become functional first, and then probably center of excellence also. Okay, next. As you all know, that Anganwadi worker is not a full-time government servant. She is a part-time worker who is supposed to take care of all these 6 tasks that a child needs. So the whole idea about integrated child development services was that you integrate all the services that a child would require under one roof. And in the want of doing that, what happened was that we are expecting an Anganwadi worker who is supposed to be a part-time worker, to be a nutritionist, to be a counselor, to be an educator, to be an ANM sometimes. So imagine the kind of complexity of that job. Unfortunately, this goes often unrecognized by our society. So today, if somebody is having some problem with nutrition, they will go to the nutritionist. If they have some problem with some health, they will go to the doctor or they will go to the nurse. All these roles are actually sort of combined into Anganwadi worker's job chart, and still she is at the bottom of the pyramid. Nobody really cares, who they are and what they do, and so if you really look at that, it's a very complex, demanding job which these women have been doing for years together without any professional development opportunity. And that's where the system starts collapsing. We are expecting too much, and over and above, we are not giving any kind of professional support to them to do their job. And that's why we started conceptualizing a design whereby can we really imagine a system which would bit by bit give a professional development input to the Anganwadi workers, and maybe over a period of time their capacity grows to do their jobs better. So that was the whole idea. Can we go next? Yeah. So this was the simple objective of the program with which we started. Next. Yeah. So you can see that we are spread all across Maharashtra, and the reason why we are so spread over there is that each situation is different. So if you really see, we work in Palghar, which is a tribal district adjacent to Mumbai. We have a different set of problems. We work in Gadchiroli, which is far east district. They have a different set of problems. Both of the districts are tribal. We work in the central Maharashtra, which is a drought-prone zone. The problems are different. The language that children speak are different. So we wanted to actually also test that does this framework or does this program actually work in different type of situations. Of course, the finding was very simple, that while the central architecture of the program remains the same, it requires a kind of a localization effort every time. Every time you go to another area, it requires some kind of a localization to be done, without which the chances of failing are very high. Now compare this to what happens with our normal trainings given by the government. So there is some people like us sit in Pune, they devise a training and believe that this will work for every child in Maharashtra, and because we sit on the government side, you make it compulsory for everyone to undergo that. So now this one jacket fits for all approach doesn't work towards the real transformation. I don't mean to say that nothing can be centrally planned, but there is an amount of localization that is required, and there is an amount that we provide to them is required. What is the right blend? What is the right trade-off? That is something what we as educators have to yet figure out. And probably we have made some steps towards that, which I am going to present. Next. So now what do we exactly do? It's very simple. All of you might be aware about the fact that Anganwadis are part of a ICDS project. Now this term project came because when the scheme was launched, it was done as a project and the terminology still continues. So project is essentially a group of about 100 to 200 Anganwadis. And you have supervisors, say 6 to 8 supervisors in that project. you have an officer who is called Child Development Project Officer. And then you have Anganwadi workers and Anganwadi helpers. So this is the team with whom we are supposed to work. The first insight that we got from PALAVEE program was that it is not enough to work only with the Anganwadi workers. If you really want a transformation in the system, it is necessary that we work across the levels. So right from CDPO, right from Child Development Project Officer to the helper, if they talk the same language, if they have a shared understanding of what quality education means, then only you can transform the amenities. Otherwise, in a huge system, the messaging is contradictory and the whole thing can topple down anytime. And that has happened in the history. So it is necessary that we work with every layer. It's not enough just to say that, okay, we will work with the teachers, the good teachers will automatically produce the results. Doesn't happen. Because good teachers always work in an ecosystem, and if that ecosystem is not conducive, then the results are not there. So it's necessary to work at every level of the system if you believe that system can be transformed. Can we go ahead? So go back. So what we try to do is that imagine the kind of the numbers that we handle. In India, whenever you start with an innovation, it is always successful in the laboratory but a big failure on the field. And why does that happen? Because the scale is really mind-boggling. So just before the talk, we were discussing that people are not willing to go to the rural belts. Those who have expertise they all want to be in the cities, don't want to go outside. True, but how about then developing that kind of expertise with the local people there? Because that's going to be ultimately sustainable. So that's what we started with. We go to an area, we select that entire administrative unit and create a resource group right within the system. Now this resource group is somebody which is our change makers team. So that's our leading team. In fact, this is the team which actually shoulders the responsibility of entire work. And it is not mapped onto the hierarchy. So there could be Anganwadi teacher who could be also a supervisor who is a part of a resource group. So a hierarchical place where people come together, they undergo certain workshops, trainings and inputs, and they shoulder the responsibility of the transformation. So it's like a one-level cascade. So our learning from this entire place was that unless you work with multiple levels, the transformation is not really going to happen. Second learning was that we cannot keep on importing expertise from the cities, we have to create it locally. So that's why we started working with resource group kind of an idea, and we invest in them. So this is all a functional system. It's it works every day on the ground, and you have to build the capacity. So it's almost like you are building an aeroplane which is flying. So I can't ask them that, okay, stop your work, come to me for a 3 months diploma. Nobody is going to listen to me. So it's a task whereby you have to do a bit by bit kind of a modification and then transform the system. So these are the challenges on the ground that some of you may face if you go sometime to the rural areas, or for even that matter in the urban public infrastructure. Because Anganwadi is also responsible for nutrition and diet. So it's just not possible that I ask them to shut down the centers for some time till your manpower is getting trained. There is a gross limitation on that, and that's why we had to develop a program which was mapped onto their working conditions. And unless you do that, the things don't work at large. Okay, can we go next? So generally, if you see that, what we try to do is that we ask them to create model centers in the block first. So in the year 1 of the project, only the models are created. And who creates these models? All the members of the resource group together. Because that is absolutely essential that, right from your CDPO to supervisors actually do the business. It is a tough job because, officers feel that, I'm the officer, why should I go and teach in an Anganwadi? Supervisor would say that. But it's a negotiation. It's a negotiation that one has to really take, because without which you cannot become a good mentor or a good teacher. And that's why the first year goes in setting up these Anganwadis across the block, which are called model Anganwadis. And these model Anganwadis later serve as a training center for everybody else. So what we try to do is that typically if you really see the radius of a block is anything between 10 kilometers to 20 kilometers. Within that radius, you have to saturate everything. That's why these model Anganwadis are strategically created in every part of the block, which serve as a training center. So what do I mean by that they serve as a training center is that when Anganwadi workers come there for the training, observe the Anganwadi first for 1.5 hours. And later, the children are sent away and then the Anganwadi worker over there and the resource people, they come together and then they say that, okay, whatever you observe today, if you want to do that, this is the theoretical bit that you require. This is the kind of practice that you would require. This is the kind of planning that you would require. And it is done in a very bit by bit manner. So that is something what we learned, that long courses are not going to be successful in the system like this. Long courses in the sense, an input at a stretch doesn't work well. But small input at a time spread over a very long period. So wherever we go, we work there at least for 3.5 years, if not less. And that's how slowly the system transforms. So these are some of the things that we learned in a very hard way. That how do we really do this in a given system? How do we really sort of keep on changing parts of the flying aeroplane, I would always say. Okay, next. Yeah. Another critical insight that we could gather from our experience is that Anganwadi workers do not learn alone in the workshop. It's in vain saying that you come for the workshop and go and do everything on your own. It just doesn't happen that way. They require a lot of on-site support. And what do I mean by on-site support? That people, our trained people, they go to the Anganwadis, they work with, they dirty their hands on the field. Sometimes they demonstrate, sometimes they observe the Anganwadi workers. So that kind of a support is extremely needed because Anganwadi workers are practitioners. They cannot learn everything sitting in a classroom like this, in a setting like this, where somebody is delivering a lecture and then they got everything and transform their Anganwadis. It just doesn't happen. So this on-site support is a very critical part where some people visit your schools, they observe you, first they would demonstrate, then slowly they would say, okay, can you just do these 2 things that we did in workshop? And then slowly the change starts happening. So it's an extremely slow process. No matter how much we want them to accelerate the whole thing, you cannot accelerate it beyond a limit. And that's why it's a very job of patience. That's something what one has to really keep in mind. So this on-site support was the third principle that we could extract, that without an actual support on the ground, the transformation is not going to happen. Because Anganwadi workers do not come from backgrounds where they learn everything through language. So they don't learn by listening, they do learn more by doing. So if that is their culture, then might as well tailor your program around that, so that they really learn when they do it in a different way. Can we go to the next? Yeah. So this is how a typically Anganwadi would look if you go in the beginning. What all do you see here? Kya dikh raha hai? Yeah, so almost like a storage place, right? These kind of things, the boxes everywhere. There are some pictures here and there, but largely it appears to be a godown. Yeah. Now, how does it look after me? Okay. Can you go next? We want to make it into this. Yeah. So, from that kind of a room to this kind of a functional and vibrant center of early childhood education, it's a process of 3 years. They don't transform overnight. In fact, the change is always incremental. So when we give them the first level of input, we say that, run an Anganwadi only for 40 minutes, that's all. That's your commitment. And then step by step, the entire program becomes of 3.5 hours duration. But if you are just, tell them, okay, you are supposed to run an Anganwadi for 3 hours duration, why don't you do that? Doesn't happen like that. It's an incremental change that we expect. So the kind of room that you saw before and the kind of picture that you are seeing today, after the transformation takes all this effort in between, and believe me, the efforts taken by us are only instrumental. The efforts taken by the Anganwadi workers themselves and the system itself make this happen. So I would say that we are in a way sort of little catalyst to make this change to happen. But the real change is brought about by those people. So what is our role? Our role is to probably sometimes support, guide, give some resources, course correct, do some troubleshooting. That's what we do, but the actual change on the ground comes through a very hard work that the system puts in. Now this is completely different image of a government worker than what we normally have in our mind, isn't it? But ultimately they are people. See, there are 1,20,000 Anganwadi workers. It's a good sample to represent Maharashtra, how Maharashtra society functions. So if we don't trust them, then we really don't trust our own society. That is what it means. They are like normal people, like you and me. Not that that they don't want to work. The point is that they don't know how to do it. So if we really create a system which helps them build their professional capacities, which is tailor-made to their own way of learning, then the things happen. That's what we learned over the past 12-15 years that we have been running this program. Can you go to the next slide? Now, when we talk about one school, it's quite easy to really check the progress, because you will have your portfolios of children and you will have some this and that, written records of every child and these kind of things. How would you do this at a level of say 3,000 Anganwadis? And who is going to read those portfolios? How do you really? So while these kind of personalized kind of assessment instruments give you a very rich insight about one child, it is extremely difficult, almost next to impossible, to generate a collective insight from a project at this level. So the question was that okay, you saw that those transformations qualitatively, but how do we really understand that what exactly is happening on the ground at a large scale? I may just go to one or two Anganwadis and transform them and click a photograph and show you that okay, look, this is how it transforms. For a large scale system, this is not enough. You need to go into the data. And this is where West has, I think, contributed in a great way. The whole idea of measurement is quite new to the field of ECE. So we people don't measure so much. And we live in an era where everything is measured. In fact, whatever cannot be measured, people don't believe that it exists. The things have gone to that extent. Jokes apart, but it's absolutely necessary that we systematically measure the progress of the project, systematically measure our outcomes. And how do you do that was a question in front of us. At 3,000 or say 200 Anganwadis, how do I really make sense of the general situation over there? So that's why we developed a few tools taking into account that what exactly we want to observe as a required outcome of this particular project. Any educational intervention, the final outcome is definitely that did the learning level of children improve. But you cannot really just measure only that one outcome, because learning levels can be improved by just coaching. If I just go there and start teaching to the test, the learning levels will be improved. So it's not enough that I just prepare them for the test. So we have a step behind, which is called, did the classroom practice change? So is there a change in the classroom practice? So we have to measure that. And in order to change the classroom practice, we have to go a step back. Who will change the classroom practice ultimately? The Anganwadi worker. So has the knowledge and the perception and the beliefs of the Anganwadi workers changed? So now we came to a sort of a 3-level assessment system, whereby we have to check that did the perception and the knowledge, and what the word there is pedagogic content knowledge. So has that changed? The second level is that has the classroom practice changed? And then the third level is that has the level of learning of children changed? So unless you ensure all these three levels, you cannot say that the system has transformed. Otherwise, what happens is that, that if I just give the last indicator, that is the level of children, people would fudge. They would just do the test again and again, again and again. That's what the people normally do, when you just study for the exams. So we did not want that. We wanted certain processes to be in place, and that's how we really came to this idea that in order to assess the impact of this entire intervention, we require a 3-level kind of a assessment practice. Tools were not available. The Western tools did not calibrate to our standards. N number of problems, and this is where I think the universities have to take a greater role. An NGO like ours can show you successful demonstration models, but ultimately we end up doing a job of a university department of calibrating the tools, testing them on a large scale, publishing the papers, establishing their validity, establishing their reliability. So it is like, in for a penny, in for a pound kind of a job. You start with something and you end up doing a lot of things. Unfortunately, we as a society never collaborate together. I have seen, whatever the research papers that I read from the Western world, it's always a collaborative research between the universities and the people who are working on the ground. Unfortunately, that collaboration doesn't exist in India. It exists in very small bits and pieces. We require much more collaborative work to go ahead to solve the problem. So, taking that into, this was just a little digression, but we had to create these tools on our own. We had to localize them, we had to test them on the ground, collect the data, put it to the very rigorous statistical tests, and then make sense out of it. This entire thing was quite new for the field in India, because if you really see, even in the conferences, there's hardly any quantitative research that is presented in the ECE conference or in the conference. So this was the place where we contributed in developing these tools. Of course, it wasn't developed by us alone, it was developed in collaboration with Tata Trusts and some other people who are from the field, and we started using these tools. Now let's try to understand what kind of results we got from our intervention, because that is necessary. So let's see. So content pedagogic knowledge. Now let me just explain this term a little bit. What do you mean by that? I may know good mathematics, but still I won't be able to teach mathematics well, because mathematics is just the content knowledge. But when it comes to communicate certain ideas and concepts to the learner, it requires content plus pedagogic knowledge, and that the term together is used like content pedagogic knowledge, that I know concept well and I'm also able to communicate the concept, taking the learner's needs into the account. So we have developed a test on that. If you are interested, we can later on see that what kind of tests are there. A simple test which asks you to make decisions on the given case, and that gives you an idea about that how much or what kind of shift that you see in the content pedagogic knowledge. Yeah. So if you really see, these are stages. I told you that it is like the first stage, second stage. At every stage there is a huge growth in, at least in the knowledge part of it. Now whether this will translate into the practice, another thing. But at least that much we are sure. And that is how you really work at a scale, that you cannot ensure everything at one go. So be sure that okay, at least there is a shift in the knowledge part. Can you go to the next? Now this is a bit clumsy graph, but look at the only last 3 lines over there. This is the tool that measures the practices. It's a very elaborated, elegant tool whereby you have to sit in the classroom and observe the practice and score it in certain way. So has the practice changed? If you really see that the initial scores were around 21% on the tool, which have gone to about 92% till the end of. So if this is the rise in the scores that you see on that particular tool, then we can fairly be sure that the practice in the classroom has changed. Okay? Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. Now, this is an interesting thing that we should really see. There is something written baseline, year 1 and year 2. So what do I mean by that? That before we started anything, we selected 2 groups. One was group which we were just tracking, the another was the group which was getting the input and whatever intervention that we were doing. So if you see, the red bars indicate the non-intervention group. And if you see them, they are at 15, 12, 19%, that's the average score. While the green bars, they are fairly at the same level in the beginning. They have risen. There is a considerable rise over there. Now this is not the best case scenario. This is from Dhanora, which is the most Naxal affected block of Gadchiroli district. So we had put ourselves to that kind of a test. कि वहाँ पे हो सकता है क्या कुछ? If something works there, then it will surely work in the rest of the state, you know. So if you really see that there is a steady growth over there, right? Now this is something not our job. We are NGOs, right? So, but I mean, if nothing is available, what do? You just take up that responsibility on you and start working over there. Okay, can we go to the next? Now this is a very interesting graph that you can see. All the green graphs are showing average score on the school readiness tool, that is how it is termed, the school readiness tool of private schools. So Kolhapur, Nashik, Pune, Thane, Wardha. So we went to some private schools, and children who enter into grade 1, we administered them the test, because this tool is to be administered at the entry of grade 1. So what all broadly the child is supposed to know at the entry of grade 1 has been covered by the tool. So if you really see, all the green graphs are showing you the scores from private schools. And the blue bar shows you an average of about 30 Anganwadis selected from Amravati block, where we have worked. Now, what are the bars telling us? Almost comparable to what the private schools can really produce. So when I really say that they can work, I have to also prove it. You know, it's not just something what I wish to do, but I want to report you the data which proves that whatever we were claiming that the public system can produce results at the level of, you know, private schools, we have established this. Unfortunately, all these papers are published in English and in the journals which nobody reads. We are also bound by the system that, you know, I mean, that we have to, unless I publish a paper there, who's going to ask me, you know, because how would I get the credibility for that? So that is what, so we actually, you know, battle on multiple grounds. Now imagine that, you know, collecting this kind of a data, doing the literature review, putting it into the format of a paper, getting it peer reviewed, getting it published, is all university job. In fact, I remember when Joshi sir used to talk about, you know, sort of research center for early childhood education. That was a very popular idea at that time when Maharashtra Shikshan Parishad came into existence. He said that in order to solve the problems, you need in-depth research. So this is something what we could contribute in our little own way, but it is grossly insufficient. Looking at the complexity of the problem, looking at the scale of the problem, many more people need to get into this. The universities need to collaborate with the people working on the ground to produce something new. And that's the challenge that I always see from the ground. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. You might be knowing Vinita Kaul. She also delivered a lecture here. So Vinita did a assessment for this one of our projects on her EC class as well as on her school readiness tools. Because, you know, the tools were created by us and we wanted to sort of triangulate the data with the other tools, because, you know, how do you otherwise compare, you know? So if you see, this is a very interesting graph that has been, you know, produced by Vinita's research. You have, so I mean, Vinita's tool works in such this way that she can give you the number of school ready children or the percentage of school ready children in your Anganwadi. So if you really see that PALAVEE's normal Anganwadi, not the best of the Anganwadi, but a representative Anganwadi, has around 65% children who are school ready. I mean, that means they can cope with the grade 1 curriculum well, while from the control there is 0. No one is school ready. So we are trying to sort of assess things from multiple ways, using multiple tools, so that we are sure about reality. Yeah. So that's how the whole program has been designed, on the basis of sound research that we try to do within the given limitations. So the point is that data doesn't tell you everything. It is not reality. But it is an approximate picture of reality for sure. So numbers don't tell you everything, but they tell you a lot of things. So try to understand what the numbers are trying to tell. And there remain a lot of things which go beyond the numbers, which one has to understand qualitatively. You know, the aha moment when you clapped came after those 2 photographs. Yeah, because that's something what is, we feel it qualitatively. Right? These kind of numbers will give you a trend. It will give you a sort of what is happening at a larger scale, what is happening at a population level. Unfortunately, we don't appreciate this kind of work so much. There is, I mean, you'll be surprised, but we have to go outside of the country to discuss these things. So there is somebody called Jack Williams from University of Cambridge who helps us collaborating this data. So he all the way came to Gadchiroli. He sat there for 8 days, saw through what kind of data is coming, how exactly it is happening, and then he said, okay, now I am comfortable to guide you. I couldn't get a single person from an Indian university who was even willing to travel to the location that I was. So that's what our pain points are. And if we really want to solve the problem, different stakeholders will have to collaborate. We have to pool our resources, collaborate together, and then find a solution, without which things are not going to be so easy. No matter how much we want to work in this direction, this cannot become a universal phenomena unless everybody believes in it. Can we go to the next one? Yeah. So this was a longitudinal research, which is again an interesting part. We again, in March 14, we started with a cohort to whom we give the input. So the orange line is showing you the children who received the input. The blue line is showing you the children who did not receive the input. And if you see it, we tracked them from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. So 5 years we were tracking that entire cohort. If you see, in January 16, our intervention produced a significant gap between the 2 groups. Can you see that? Yes. Over there? Yeah. Now in June 16, our intervention ended. Because our intervention is only in pre-primary, in ANGANWADIS. These children went into grade 1, where we gave no intervention, but we tested them at the end of each year on their grade appropriate tests. So from 16, 17, 18, 19, the data that you see is on their grade appropriate tests. So we just kept on testing them. If you see that the maximum gain that you are getting is in March 18, which is, you know, so for the past 2 years we were not working with them, but they had an advantage to sort of, you know, take whatever input that this Zilla Parishad schools were giving to them to take it to the next level. Now, taking this into account, we all learn in our theory papers that, you know, the stages of development are dependent on the previous stage. Can't you see that over here? Isn't the stage is dependent on the previous stage? Right? So if your foundation is strong, the chance that the next stage becomes better are much higher. Now these are the kind of little things that we have to test in our own context. Yeah? Okay. Unfortunately, we could not track them in March 2020 because of the COVID, and then we lost the COVID. The idea was to track them for 5 more years. Because, you know, if you see, the gap is reducing. So we were wondering that, you know, when it will close, or would it close? But unfortunately, the COVID came in between, and then we had to give away that research. But these are the kind of things that we do alongside working with the large-scale systems. This is something what I would call is knowledge building, and within our limited capacities, we try to build it. It is absolutely necessary that the departments collaborate amongst themselves. It is absolutely necessary that the academia comes into the play, so that these things can be done in a much more robust way, in much more accurate way. Yeah. So these are some resources. Generally, what has happened is that we have started believing in something which is almost virtual, I would say. So you won't have any basic facilities in Anganwadi, but suddenly somebody would come and put up a big television screen there without even realizing that there isn't any electricity in Anganwadi. And children would learn better using technology. Nobody has proven it. Nobody has even the data that I have today to prove my intervention. Still everybody would buy it. Now these are the kind of things that we have to challenge, learn to ask questions about. So even globally, there isn't much data which proves that technology in actual learning has been helpful. Very few papers on a very fragile argument. In spite of that, we keep on spending money on these kind of things. And that's the questions that we want to ask, that does our system need it at this point of time? I mean, I'm not against having a television in the classroom if there is a screen and if you want to do, but not before you really fulfill all other needs. That cannot be the priority. And just because you have you might have read on news some days ago that there is something called AI Anganwadi in Maharashtra. On what on the earth it means? AI Anganwadi. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to study that. I will have in my mind that how do I really publish about this. But how can you really go ahead with something which doesn't even have a proof? But that is what is happening in the field, and these are the things that unless we as community practitioners, community come forward and say that this is not something what is doable, we are going to continue. See, in medical profession, if I tomorrow build some technology, the doctors have to be a major stakeholder in the development. Here, somebody sits in some company, creates some learning things, and just dumps it into your classrooms, and uncritically we believe that okay, this is something what is going to help us. Now, these are the kind of problems that we as practitioners have to face, and that's why we have to come together. That's the whole point. Can you go to the next? Yeah. Simple things. I belong to the tradition of Tarabai Modak and Anandai Wagh, who always believe that the change is not the material which is going to teach. It is the person who is using that material is going to teach. So material need not be fancy. It could be something really cheap, really that lies around you. What matters is the person who uses that material, the kind of instruction that he does, the kind of questions that he asks, the kind of engagement that person takes from the children is the learning activity, not the material by itself. So we make a sort of a balance of ready-made provided materials and the indigenously collected materials, because at the 3,000 Anganwadis, you don't expect everybody to make the materials. I saw an exhibition over there. My Anganwadi worker doesn't have time to make all that. So what do? So I provide certain things ready-made. I ask her to collect whatever is easy for you to collect around the ground, and then start using it together. So that's what the real life difference makes. Because imagine how much time you must have spent on making all those things. My Anganwadi worker would say, "No, aap kariye. That's something I don't have time to do all these things." So we had I remember in one of the Maharashtra Bal Shikshan Parishad debates, we had this debate that should the material be created by the teachers themselves. And there were two strong opposing voices saying that it's like asking the doctor to make his own scalpel. And just because he has made that scalpel, he is not going to do the surgery better. So what about the enormous time and investment that we put in making all these things all the time? I mean, it may have some value of doing it by your own hand, but let's not stretch the logic to the other end. So these are the kind of real problems that we really see on the ground. Okay? Can we go next? Yeah. Another thing is that our children come from a very different background. And unfortunately, even in Marathi, there aren't books to which they can relate. So just to give you an example, if I sing a little rhyme in Marathi, एक होती इडली, ती एकदा चिडली, ताटलीतून उडाली, सांबारात उडाली, सांबार होतं गरम, इडली झाली नरम. Is it a simple, easy song or is it a difficult song? Simple, easy, for whom? For a tribal child who hasn't seen idli, who hasn't seen sambar, who hasn't ever seen, kata chamcha or anything. You're getting it? So there is nothing like absolute easy and absolute difficult. Right? So if you really see these pictures, they are from the surroundings of so making a bhakar at home, for example. Yeah? This is an important learning even from PALAVEE, that you need to customize certain things to suit to the context of the kids, without which they don't inculcate the love for me. They just can't relate to the pictures. They can't relate to the word and vocabulary that is there. And that's why we started making these kind of books, which are from local context. So see, it's like in for a penny, really in for a pound. You took over the research, you took over the tool development, now you took over the entire material development part of it. The list goes on increasing like that. But the point being that unless we really take care of these nuances, no policy is going to make a difference on the ground. The policy may give you a big framework to operate within, but how do we really translate it into the practices? It depends on the practitioners. We have to make some efforts. We have to really, understand the situation and go on. Okay, can we go to the next? Yeah. So these are the manuals that we have created for ANGANWADI transformation program. Each manual corresponds to one stage of transformation. So if you have done certain things and you have achieved to a certain level, the manual, you have completed that manual broadly. So step by step, the whole thing can really transform the entire ANGANWADI. So that's what the whole idea is. This manual is, by the way, actually a story. Story of an ANGANWADI worker and a helper who transform their own ANGANWADI. And it's heavily illustrated. So actually we have, what we used to do was that, keep recorders, simple digital recorders, audio recorders in the classroom, collect the discussion and dialogues that happen and put them into the manuals. Because they have to be real life, I can't imagine them. Click the photographs, put them into the manual. So the manual development exercise was going on for around almost 4.5 years as we were learning on the way, right? Even today we feel that my academic team always sits on it all the time. But this is the kind of work that is really needed if we want to change the system. And that's what we are trying to do. I don't claim that we have a huge success, but the initial results, I would say, are very encouraging. Can you go to the next? Yeah. So that brings me to the end of this entire topic. I would just like to make a concluding remark for this entire presentation that I made to you is that early childhood education is a huge, vast, complex field, and no one person can ever really solve all the problems. It is absolutely necessary that we as a community of practitioners come together, see what the problem is, try to analyze it, try to find the solutions, and then make it available to the public. All the resources that we have created are available in the public domain. So they are not our copyright. Anybody can use it. The reason being, they have been created from the public money, so they have to be in the public domain. It's ultimately knowledge. So there is no point in restricting knowledge anyway which is scarce in our own languages. Right? So taking this into account, I think that we as practitioners have to open more dialogue among ourselves, have to really, sort of take a little discomfortable zone to go and see the realities out there in the world, And if we try to do that, slowly this entire idea of network of practitioners would evolve, which was the original idea led by Professor Ram Joshi when he founded Maharashtra Bal Shikshan Parishad. I took this opportunity to talk to you to remind of that vision, and let's really join hands to take this vision ahead. I take this opportunity to all of you who work in the space of education to visit our sites, experience the things yourself, because no matter how many videos I really show you or how many slides I really show to you, the real experience is something what teaches us completely something that is beyond these kind of presentations. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. So, on this occasion, I would also like to say that our students had enthusiastically participated in one innovative teaching aids competition that we had organized to encourage them, and the results for the same have been decided. I request our chief guest, Nilesh sir, to award the winners with the certificate. And for this, I would like to call upon my colleague, Ms. Nimkar, to read the names of the winners.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Nilesh sir, I would request you to hand over the certificates. We had this. Yeah, ma'am. Yes, sir. So it was an innovative teaching aid competition as such for our Jan and July batch teacher training course, both Sion and Nerul. So the first prize was to Madiha Azim Sakarkar. I guess she is not there. Okay. Second prize is shared with four of them: Sheikh Nazreen Salim, Urmila Rana, Sagarika Patel, Sheetal Balasubramanian. Please, I request you all to come front. Please applaud. Sheetal Balasubramanian. And Nazreen. Third prize, D'Souza Flavia Thomas, Patwa Shilpa Pradeep Kumar, and Maitri Anita Shivir. All three of you please come close to the dais. D'Souza Flavia. Shilpa Patwa. And Anita Maitri. Consolation prizes: Afshin Fatima Khan, Rana Divya Cleopas, Gupta Vartika Abhishek. I guess Afshin is not there. Divya Rana and Vartika Gupta. Divya Rana. Vartika Gupta. Similar type of a teaching aid competition was given for the special education children also, students also. So the first prize goes to Nair Priyanka Ramesh and Ayer Tanushka Anantaraman. Can you please both of you come forward? This is Tanushka. Priyanka. Tanushka. Second prize to Geeta Ramaswamy and More Devika Sudesh. Geeta Ramaswamy. Devika is not present today. The third prize to Puranik Ratnendra Naveen and Panchvani Pooja Parmanand. This is Ratnendra. And this is Pooja. Thank you so much, students. Now I hand over the mic to Kavita.
Thank you, Vidya teacher. To conclude this memorable gathering, I invite Ms. Lakshmi Shivkumar, Coordinator of Teacher Training Programs, to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Kavita. A very warm good afternoon to everybody. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others, said Cicero. As we bring this inspiring lecture to a close, it is my honor and privilege to extend our heartfelt thanks on behalf of our institution. The 26th Ram Joshi Memorial Lecture has been more than an event. It has been a celebration of legacy, learning, and the collective spirit of education. Let me begin by expressing our deepest appreciation to our chief guest, Shri Nilesh, Dr. Nilesh Nimkar, for his illuminating memorial address on transforming ANGANWADIS into vibrant preschools, some insights from the PALAVEE intervention. Your approach to conducting a research-based study to ascertain the readiness of the ANGANWADI workers and their work with the children so that they are school ready is an immense step to bring the grassroots level children into the mainstream of education. You've collected a lot of resources in making learning similar to that of a preschool. Your words were not just informative, they were also a call to action reminding us that every child deserves a vibrant beginning. My sincere thanks to the member of our Managing Council, Dr. Ramnath Subramaniam, to our principal, Dr. Satish Sarfari. Thank you for being the wind beneath our wings, which has helped us leap and soar. Your support has been steady and strong. We are grateful to Dr. Uma Shankar, Director, Academics and Administration, SIES, for her visionary leadership and continued encouragement to our institute. Your presence always adds to our academic endeavors. A special salute to the family of Professor Dr. Ram Joshi, Ms. Anupama Joshi and Shri Vidyanand Joshi. Your presence today was a gentle reminder of the legacy of the great stalwart in the field of education who brought together not just building but books, and his memory stays on with us. To our invited guests and members of our sister institutions who made it possible to come today and be a part of this great event. To Ms. Shobha Bharat from the P.N. Joshi College, Ghatkopar, as well as a member of the EECD. Thank you for joining us for today's gathering. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to the staff and students of BMM College, Srimati P.N. Joshi College, Ghatkopar, IFSA Vashi. Your enthusiastic participation has added color to today's session. To our principal, thank you sir for granting us the MMR to conduct this event. We thank Santosh Decorators for the backdrop arrangements, for making the Teaching Aid exhibition vibrant and colorful today. And there are a lot of memories to cherish. To our college canteen, thank you for the yummy food that is being served as refreshments for today's session. And finally, to all the staff and students who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes for putting together this event today. Alone, we can do little. Together, we can do so much, said Helen Keller. Some people look for a beautiful place, others make the place beautiful. Today, you have helped make this event beautiful, Shri, Nilesh, Nimkar. May I, with your kind permission, say a few lines in Hindi. नन्हे कदमों की आहट में है भविष्य की पुकार, हर आंगनवाड़ी बने ज्ञान का सच्चा द्वार। प्रोफेसर जोशी की सोच से जो दीप जले, उन्हें साकार करने पधारे हैं आज डॉक्टर नीलेश निमकर अपने अनुभवों के साथ। वो हर बालक के मन में उजाला भर चले हम उस राह पर जहाँ खेल में हो शिक्षा और हर बचपन बने एक सुंदर कहानी की दिशा। Thank you everyone and have a wonderful day because you still have a day ahead. Thank you so much. And before we end the session today, maybe all rise to the national anthem. Just a minute.
Before we say our national anthem, requesting all of you all to please see the wonderful teaching aids exhibition that we have put up for all of you. Please do take time and go there. I would request the volunteers who were at the teaching exhibition to please take your positions there in case the others need to be guided. And now we can all. Jana Gana Mana Adhinaya